Et le groupe part à la conquête du monde. Déterminés à montrer qu'ils sont plus qu'un simple feu de paille, les 5 musiciens retournent en studio pour enregistrer du nouveau matériel. Ils lancent d'abord le super maxi My Iron Lung en 1994 et quelques mois plus tard font paraître l'album The Bands qui séduira la critique avec ses guitares texturées et ses textes introspectifs. 1997 marque la sortie de l'album OK Computer, que plusieurs considèrent encore comme l'œuvre la plus achevée du quintet. Les éléments de rock progressif et la touche de musique électronique ajoutée à l'album ouvrent une brèche vers l'expérimentation qui marquera les efforts subséquents de la formation. Jamais à bout de surprise, Radiohead propose d'abord le documentaire Meeting People is Easy en 1999, avant de faire paraître le déroutant album K-Day un an plus tard. 4e effort du groupe, K-Day marque un tournant dans la carrière de Radiohead, qui ne lance aucun extrait et ne fait aucune tournée afin de promouvoir l'album. L'attitude distante du groupe et l'approche strictement anti-commerciale qui caractérise l'œuvre divisent les fans. Qu'à cela ne tienne, K-Day entre quand même en première place des palmarès américains à la surprise générale. Tiré des mêmes sessions d'enregistrement de K-Day, l'album Amnesiac voit le jour à peine 8 mois après son prédécesseur et permet à Radiohead de continuer sur sa lancée. S'en suivront quelques concerts qui seront documentés sur I Might Be Wrong, un mini-album live que le groupe fait paraître en 2001. Marquant un léger retour vers le son rock qui caractérisait autrefois la musique du groupe, le 6e album de Radiohead, Hail to the Thief, voit finalement le jour en juin 2003. Armé d'un nouveau clip pour la pièce There There, le groupe que plusieurs considèrent comme étant le plus pertinent de son époque s'apprête à entamer une tournée qui devrait les mener aux 4 coins du globe.
It's very nice. It's not keeping a painter employed. Hi.
Well, the new album, Hail to the Thief, and that's apparently a happy album, a very colorful.
It is.
Yes?
Lots of colors and everything.
So what's happy about the new album, Tom?
Only the music.
Only the music?
Yeah.
Not the words?
Definitely not the words.
No, there is still a little bit dark, maybe?
Yes, they're pretty dark. I mean, they kind of weren't supposed to be, but they sort of just happened that way, really.
It just happens? Your lyrics are always dark, or...?
No. I mean, I guess there's some joy in the record, actually. Sail to the Moon is pretty joyful. Mm-hmm. There are bits and pieces, but I think all the good energy comes from the music, and the lyrics kind of just happen despite me, really.
Are they as important as the music?
The sound of them is important.
And the album was supposed to be called The Gloaming.
Yeah.
Why did you change the title?
Because it didn't really fit the music. I mean, but at the same time, it all the way through making the record, I had a very strong sense of unease and dread. And gloaming is an old English term for twilight.
Which is a beautiful part of the day.
Yeah, and where I live, it's especially beautiful, and all these colours here are in it.
In the sky.
Yeah, and they all sort of seem to happen, and the general atmosphere. Animals run for cover, and it's a very. There's just something. It's stuck in my head, and I couldn't get it out. So it was a very important part of the record. But in the end, you know, we wanted something bright and shiny and nonsense in a way.
It makes sense.
See?
Okay. The album's title, what does it refer to? Hail to the Thief, because it is not to the President of the United States, huh? It's not...
Not entirely.
No, but
No.
in part, I heard it was rather John Adams in 1888 who said that.
I think, I'm not sure, but I really should read up about that. But there was basically it did happen before, and the time before, he was referred to as the thief because he stole an election because his father bought it for him. And when that'll be someone after me.
Mm-hmm.
And yes. Well, there's not much I can say. I mean, there was a particular moment, and when he got in, and the British news ran a story about how possibly the election had been rigged, and to me that was the start. That was the starting point, then the reference point, all the way through the record, because I believe that we had entered the realm of the absurd and the deeply crazy. Hence, this.
Yeah.
This to me is absurd and deeply crazy, and that's I explain it a different way every day of the week, really.
Okay, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Do you think governments, the press, lie to the public? It's a big, like a Hollywood movie.
Well, there is a thing that once it's kind of like in Britain with the royal family. Once you inaugurated whatever, people stop questioning, and that's the end of it. But what worries me is the people that are behind supplying the money, the lobby groups, the drug companies, the oil companies, and I really don't think that generally speaking, it's not just in America, it's in Britain, in Europe, here, no doubt as well, that people generally do not have access to the governments as they should. It ceased to be a democracy because corporate power can pay an awful lot more money to get a lot nearer than you or I can. And so, I mean, that's another reason why it's held to the thief, because I think our right to protest or say anything about our lives has been denied us now. But that's just me. I think we should... But the upside of it is that people are much more willing to take to the streets now. During making this record, I went to two protests, one in San Francisco and one in LA against the war in Iraq, and it amazed me how energetic it was. But the fact, but everybody here knows that when you watch Fox or CNN or whatever, they cut it all out. So it's like it never happened. But if you're at that protest, you know it happened.
You have different news, I think, in Europe than we do here. With the,
but even then, it's pretty bad. I mean, the mainstream news is all owned by one person.
I thought you had more point of views, maybe.
Yeah, it's better, but you'd be surprised. It's not indiemedia.org.
I've heard that you'd like to be a prime minister.
Oh, it's easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Ed made a very good point, because at one point we actually were going to call the record Vote For Me. But Ed made a good point that the only way that we'd actually get in is to actually kiss corporate arse, which would actually be quite difficult to do. I mean, we might be able to get the record companies to stump up some money, but I don't think it would be the equivalent of Glaxo, SmithKline, or anybody like that, sorry.
Tom, I have a few questions for you. You were talking about Hail to the Thief, and I get the impression that you're sort of denouncing, I guess, the abuse of power. That's
very much.
Yeah, that's being perpetrated by individuals who seem to speak to justify their actions because, you know, they say it's in the name of justice or democracy or things like that.
Yeah.
And do you feel, as your lyrics suggest, that you're sort of between feeling, I guess, like a helpless witness and also, you know, having this urge to rise up to authority?
I think that I got involved in the Jubilee 2000 thing quite heavily at one point, and I encountered a lot of trying to deal with governments and trying to persuade them to do things that are in the interests of millions of people who are dying, you know, and it was a very weird time for me because I didn't consider cancelling debts to be anything other than a humanitarian issue. But as I got into it, I discovered the history of the situation and the fact that the West is really basically trying to keep the rest of the world down. In order to keep the system running, they need to get cheap resources, cheap labour, and enslave the rest of the world. And, you know, after a while of banging on about it in newspapers and on TV, I just discovered that actually mainstream media were just chopping it up and taking whatever they wanted and not getting to the central issue. They'd always chop it out. And it really annoyed me and really frustrated me. And I really admire Bono sort of for carrying on doing the stuff in Africa. But to me, it just totally fused my head. I could not cope with the sense of frustration and the fact that people, you know, politicians felt that they had to torture you because you had like millions of votes in a sack. You turn up and you give them to them. They're like, we better sort of talk to these people. Not only are they vaguely well known, but they actually have millions of signatures from old grannies all around the world. And But basically, they weren't doing anything about it. So I went through a long period of sort of switching off from that and trying to get away from it, and found that, although, as you say, a lot of the record is about trying to switch off and trying to just say to yourself, you're never going to be able to do anything about it or whatever, actually the underlying theme throughout it is pure blind anger. The very feeling that makes you actually take to the streets or whatever. Even though I was trying to deny it, I think that's kind of what is there, really. I mean, you know, most people don't give a shit. They ain't got time. Like, unfortunately for me, I have time.
You do it to yourself, you do, and that's why we have, 'cause I'm yourself. Don't leave me high, don't leave me dry.
Yeah, it's a happy album, and it was recorded in the so sunny town of LA. We don't picture really Radiohead going to LA to record an album.
No, but we needed some sunshine, and we played the songs in Spain and Portugal in beautiful weather, and it made sense to carry on like being in sunshine whilst we were doing it.
Weren't you forced to go to LA?
Well, yeah, our producer, Nigel Godrich, he really wanted us to go there because he did 2 Beck albums and a Travis record in the studio, and he loved it, so...
But then I remember we started Kid A in Copenhagen in the middle of December because we had this slightly inflated idea of ourselves that we're a kind of cold northern European band, that we need darkness and snow and, you know, which was nonsense, really. So I think we've made, you know, a good record in the sunshine this time.
So it was fun. Apparently, Ed said it was your best studio experience.
Yeah, it was great, and we hired these like minis as well, like brightly coloured ones, and drove them in formation down Sunset Boulevard, like the Italian Job, you know, looking for the bank to rob and stuff. It was great.
Except someone on the side of the road shouted at me, "Oh look, there's Austin motherfucking Powers."
Okay.
I think it's my teeth or something. I don't know why.
How does Radiohead work in a studio, or how you write? Was there a difference with this album?
Well, this record was all about preparation. We spent 2 or 3 months rehearsing, and writing songs and listening to the recordings of our rehearsals quite obsessively, and the recording was just done in 2 weeks. So a lot of our favourite records have been done like that. There's the Captain Beefheart record, Troutmouse Replica, which they rehearsed for 6 months apparently, living alone together in some shack, and then recorded it very quickly. So kind of admire that.
That's very important for Nigel Godrich, the whole gang
2
thing.
weeks, huh?
Yeah, but the whole
To
going
record.
away, like away from distractions and stuff, like we did on OK Computer as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
And as brothers, do you have a different approach? I don't know.
To
Do you
what?
share things that you don't share with other band members?
Like secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have secrets?
No, just tiresome jokes, really.
No, yeah,
Okay.
very sad wittering on. Yeah.
No, Colin got me in the band, so I'm always grateful to him.
I'm grateful.
How's parenthood, Tom? You have a
What?
parenthood. You have a son.
I do, thank you.
Yeah. How old is he?
He's 2 years, 4 months.
And how did that change your life?
For the better.
For the better?
I don't worry as well. That's not true. I do worry, but I worry about different stuff. It's the. I mean, I don't know about how many of you lot have got kids. You see,
A few.
because you don't have the time to come things like this when you have kids. Anyway, what you as a guy, you become less self-involved, which is for me very good.
The liner notes to the album say, to a future worth having. Now, you've just talked about your son. His name's Noah. I think that's quite revealing. Do you think that Noah or his generation is the one who'll, is the dreamer who'll put the world to rights? Is the one?
No, because it'll be too late.
It'll be too late.
I mean, environmentally speaking, it will be too late.
So he's the one then who'll
We have about 20 years left, and if we don't, yeah, we have about 20 years left. Not only that, but you have all the millions who are going to die of lack of debt cancellation, the way the World Trade Organization runs itself, the IMF, the World Bank. Anyway, I'm not going to, it's too technical. but yeah, it'll be too late.
It'll be too late.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait for them to sort it out, unfortunately.
But you were talking earlier about taking part in Jubilee 2000 with
Yeah.
people like Bono, which means that as a musician, you do have a certain power. And obviously you don't like corruption of power when we talk about, politicians, things like that. But how do you deal with your own, I guess, brand of power?
I don't think about it.
You don't?
That is, it's the same. It's sort of. I don't think about it, and I don't. If someone asks me a question about something, I'll answer it, and if I'm able to steer cameras in a certain direction, then I'll do it when I get the chance, aware of the fact that tomorrow I might not get the chance.
Okay. So you don't think that taking action can actually make a difference?
Yeah, I do.
You do, okay. But it is still too late.
No, I don't think it's too late. No,
Okay.
I think I think it will be too late if we wait for our children to sort it out.
To sort it out.
Yeah.
Because like you say in A Wolf at the Door, you don't want them to clean up the mess,
No,
I guess.
But I think it's very interesting that generally speaking, I don't know what it's like here, but in Britain and America, there is a consensus growing that people of our age are totally disenfranchised with politics. Now that's important. That's not like, oh well, yeah, we're bored and we wouldn't want to watch music television instead. It's actually down to the fact that we don't feel any connection with it. That's actually a very powerful weapon and a very powerful statement.
Okay.
Because if we choose to do something instead, in a coherent manner, then they will have no choice but to listen.
Right. Now, I don't think you think of your band as a political band, nor do
Not
you
at
think
all.
of, right, of
Because
this
to me,
album
this is just common sense. Politics to me is left and right, and it's not relevant anymore. This is humanitarian issues, I think.
But do you want Radiohead to increasingly become sort of a mouthpiece for all of these opinions you want to voice very
No,
loudly?
not at all. But, as I say, if you ask me a question,
And you'll
I'll
answer it.
I mean, I should avoid it maybe because you'll probably all cut this out anyway. So.
No.
Actually, I read somewhere that you once used to work as an orderly in a mental hospital.
Yes. Well,
And-
not really an orderly, but yes, I did, yeah. I was a care worker, as they call them.
A worker, okay. And I also read that you donated the song Meeting in the Aisles to a mental health awareness project at MTV UK.
Yeah, for something like that, yeah. For a while, I'm not quite sure how that works.
How does mental health impact your music?
Well, it's interesting because one of the things that for me, one of the things I find most offensive about what people say about our music is when they say it's depressing. The reason I find it offensive is that to me implies that to suffer from depression is like being subnormal or you know, it's a stigma, which it shouldn't be, because there's an awful lot of people that suffer from depression, and it shouldn't be something that is like an ultimate swear word, because I suffer from it, and a lot of people suffer from it, and it should be something that's openly discussed and be accepted, rather than like, you know, I happen to make music sometimes when I'm in that frame of mind because I suffer from it. But actually, sometimes it's not suffering. Sometimes it's a bonus. But it is sometimes it is a mental illness, and it means that I have empathy with other mental illnesses, because sometimes I feel that I'm close to certain things that could end up, you know, trapdoors, as I once called them, that I could fall through, and I really have a problem with people who dismiss art or music on the grounds that it's depressing, because a lot of creative power is from that feeling. So
Tom, in the thank you notes, there's Michael Stipe.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you're a friend of Michael Stipe?
Yes.
Yeah?
I'm seeing him tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Say hi.
I will, yeah. He was just here. Well, no, they were here on the upthing, weren't they?
Okay. Is R.E.M. a role model for you? Because they're
good.
Yeah?
They're, yeah, definitely. Michael looked after me when I was...
Okay. Helped you?
Yeah, and he's a very generous guy, and has a beautiful voice, so there you go. And I'm lucky that he's my mate. So there you go.
And R.E.M. is an important band.
Yeah.
And so is Radiohead. Do you think, you know, there are, because in the last 10 years, it's only with what we've heard is crap, you know, almost, you know, and this, it's true, you know, a lot of commercial, you know, shit around, unfortunately, you know, and Radiohead, U2, R.E.M., you know, are there bands like that anymore, you know? Where are we going, you know?
But the only reason that any of these, any of us are allowed to exist is we're still flogging records. I mean, I think a lot of it is down to the fact that record companies are very short-sighted. And they're answerable to their shareholders, and their shareholders want more, and they want it now, like most corporate organisations. And I think music suffers because of that short-sightedness. But things are going to change.
Yeah, it will change.
Yeah. My personal thing is, if rock and roll certainly doesn't need saving. If it's going to die a death, it'll just do it, and nobody should sort of be propping it up and trying to plug it back in and make it work again. You know, if it dies, it dies. Hurrah, whatever. But I think we reserve the right to use whatever we want, whenever we want. Really, as any musician should.
That's it.
About doing his material justice. Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, all the time. I mean,
so don't tread on the grass.
Yeah, so, you know, sometimes Tom will sit and play a song like I Will, you know, Here Tonight, and it's, you know, what are you going to add to that? That's not going to ruin it. Nothing. You tiptoe away and leave it and let it, you know, record it as is.
Trombone solo at the end, possibly with a big wow.
They wiped it, didn't they?
They
so
did.
cruel.
I mean, I thought it was genius.
I know, but what can you do? No. So yeah, you know, it's a lot of the time you leave well alone.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm in Radiohead, and you know, playing music with Tom, and it's the best thing you can do. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? What can you say?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else much of it, really.
Yeah, it's true.